Good morning. I'm going to go over a couple of different things with regard to registering for the state conference. I've logged in as John Rogers for Westford Academy. First thing I want to call to your attention is you got an email through the system with your username and password. It should match the same thing that you had for the National DECA site, unless you made changes on the DLG side during the district competition. So if you have any questions on what your username or login is, please let us know and we'll resolve it for you. When you first log in, you come into this area. It will give you a summary. The red notes are always indicating something that you have to complete or a message that matters. So being mindful of those, make sure you read them, especially if you're having trouble hitting a submit button. Usually it will tell you what the issue is here. I'm going to click here on this link right quick, and essentially this is what you already had in the system from last year. So you want to come into the ones that have asterisks and make a change. So for the t-shirts, S is student, A is adult. Make sure that all of this information is accurate, particularly your cell phone in case we need to contact you during the conference, the fax number, the password if you wanted to change it, and then any information with regard to how you're planning on paying goes in here. We are looking for your arrival times and departure times, so I'm going to go ahead and complete those. I'll just pause this while I'm doing that so you don't have to wait for me. Hold on. So you want to make sure that you adhere to the PM and the AM things on here. If you don't know your PO number or your check number, obviously that's okay, but clearly you need to pay that bill. You know how this works. Most of you have done this before. If you have any special needs with regard to anything that you think needs to be on the registration, whatever it may be, better to have it on there than to forget about it. So go ahead and indicate that here. But this is for you personally, not for your students. You're going to answer these questions if you're leaving by a bus or a private car. If you're planning on attending the SCDC, what days do you want to arrive? And then finally, what time do you plan on arriving by school bus or private vehicle on the 8th? This question right here, if you're unsure of what day you're planning on arriving, fill it in because it won't let you complete the registration until all these questions are answered. And if you need to change this, you need to let Donna know when that time comes, okay? So that's that. At this point, you're going to click Save. And I did this deliberately to show you the red question in action. If you take a look here, it's telling me I didn't fill in a specific answer here for a question, so I'm going to go ahead and just put that in. So once you complete all of that and the system is satisfied that you've answered all the questions that are required to be answered, then it's going to automatically add you as the advisor. It's going to indicate that your status is advisor, that your t-shirt size is here, and then your identification number. Now this works exactly the way that it did for districts, but there's a little bit more information with states with regard to the t-shirt and stuff like that, okay? So you're going to come in and add students this way like you did for districts. It's going to populate the list and indicate what you already had from previous. So if you have kids that went to districts, that information should be completed. If you have kids that went straight on to states, you're going to have to come in and make those changes. You will have to indicate their t-shirt size. And again, the S is for student, the A is for adults. And this is for coloring. Remember, the advisors usually get a different color than the students do, okay? You're going to come in and change the grade and the participation type. Is it a student, a state officer, or an officer candidate? And then once you're able to complete that task, at the bottom of your list, you're going to click Save, and it will go ahead and save it for you. Now, we have a large chapter, so our list is pretty lengthy, and a lot of you do have larger chapters. It will time out after 20 minutes, so you want to save as you go. And if you step away, get interrupted or whatever, it will lose progress. So you want to be mindful of that and make sure that you save as you go. Okay, so this is just something that I do because we have such a daunting list here. If you hit Control F or Command F on the Mac side, you can search to the student that you're looking for and go that route and change the t-shirt size and what they're doing for their status. In this case, it's a student. If I come down in here and I don't populate all of it, and I try to click save, it'll save the status for me, but it won't allow me to put in any registration until I tell them what size for Madeline Boyer's t-shirt. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. Again, red message in action here. Okay, a couple other things with regard to this. There is this select all feature where essentially it'll change the status of all participant types on the list to student, so that it's one less thing you have to click on a drop-down list to go ahead and modify. It still will not allow you to save that status until you've indicated their t-shirt size, so keep that in mind. When you're sitting down to do this, you need to make sure that you have enough time. Okay, so I've populated a few. I'm going to go ahead and click save. And now those students are available for me to go ahead and tell me which event to put them in. It'll summarize the information here so that you have a quick checklist, and it will tell you how many events that they're scheduled for once you populate that. So all of these students are in AAM, so I'm going to come in and click AAM. If they were going to do any other events, or they're a state officer candidate, or they've done the pin design contest, any of that stuff, you go ahead and populate those fields and it will take care of you on that. Additionally, I wanted to call your attention to this. There are fields that are required that should have already been completed, but if at this point you wanted to change the t-shirt size or the number of years in DECA or any of that, you can go ahead and take care of that. You have email, phone number, and special needs. If the student has allergies, if the student needs additional time on the test, whatever the special needs are for that particular student, you want to go ahead and populate that field. Additionally, you need to have a valid email and phone number for the following categories so that, again, if we need to get in touch with you, we have accurate information. Okay, moving on to teams, I'm going to show you an alternate way to put events in for each student. Now you can click on each and every one of these links. Purple indicates you already have, blue indicates you haven't yet. I like this method here. It's a little bit more efficient. So I'm going to click select events for each student. Again, I have the same information on the top. I need to fill out emails if it's a staff member for DECA, a student officer candidate, and so forth. And then I can come in and modify this very easily. And when I scroll through and click save, it'll go to the next person on the list. So Max Lyon for us is our first BLTDM team member. So I'm going to come into BLTDM. I'm going to indicate that he is the first student and click save. It'll go ahead and go to the next student, which happens to be my second team member for the same category. So again, I'm going to come in and say that he is the second team member. The disadvantage of doing it this way is that it puts them in alphabetical order versus the order that you added them into the system. But again, it's just another way to do this, depending upon which way works for you. Once you come into the bottom and you specify which category they are, the team number matters. So the two teams that are the first team will both be number 1, the second team will be number 2, and so forth. For the writtens, you're going to make sure that you adhere to the rules with regard to 1, 2, or 3 members, and again, keep that consistent. And the software will automatically put those 3 members on one team and create a user ID for that entire team in addition to their individual ID, which makes so much sense in the tab center and when you're calling them to report for preps and all of that stuff. Now I just want to show you right quick what happens when you add an additional team member when the event doesn't call for it. So I'll go ahead and click save right now, and it's telling me straight out I can't put her into this event because there's only 2 for this entry. And the reason being is she really should be on the 3rd team. Once I correct that and come in here and make that change, it'll allow me to add her into the event. Keep in mind it's going to keep track of the balance that's due for your entire invoice, and also you can review your events as you're going through. So I'm doing one category at a time so that I could show you guys a singleton event and a team event, and then you can review your team numbers. I just find it less daunting to do it step by step. I'm a baby step kind of learner and teacher, but that's how you're going to go ahead and do that. So once you're in here and you come back out and click on view your registration, You can separate your invoices. So if your advisors are on a different invoice than your students based on how your billing department does things, you can come in here and make a selection based on that. Okay. Now this year we're going to register the kids that are in written events into an LDA category for a leadership seminar, and it's imperative that you do this correctly so that we have the data we need to generate those schedules effectively, so that we're not crisscrossing when they're supposed to be seeing a judge and so forth. So please make sure that you understand how to do this. I'll show you how to do it now. I have 3 students that are in a written event, and I'm going to go ahead and populate those fields. So this particular student is set up in ESB, and in addition, down under special events, I need to check off Leadership Academy, and then that'll automatically put them in the system so that we can schedule them for that mandatory event that they have to do as part of their competition. So I'm going to end this video for now, and the next video I'll do for you reviews how to put them into hotel rooms. Thank you so much. Please let us know if you have any questions.